So we'll move our sphere outside of the box, and then to be able to make it animate around the box rather than just keyframing every frame in the position, we're going to go ahead and make it created empty, and we're going to name this empty sphere rotator. Let's say animation master. And then we're going to make sure this is a 0, 0 again. Say, of course, it wasn't. And then we're going to put the sphere inside of this animation master. So now I can rotate if I select the animation master and I rotate and I go to pivot, so it's pivoting on that object, I can rotate it around this pretty easily. Right? So now we've got it set up so we can animate it the way we want. That's the first step. The second step is getting to animate. To animate stuff inside of Unity, it's not that difficult. We just come in here and we come up to animation. We open up the animation window. And then I don't ever put this anywhere. I just leave it floating because I don't use it as much. If I was an animator, it might be the key thing that I have for my windows. I'm going to close this secondary one here for now. Okay. So as soon as I do that, you're going to see I'm on Animation Master, and it's going to say, do you want to begin animating a sphere animation master, which is the name of this, create animator and an animation clip. So I say click create, and it does two things. I can name this new animation, so I'm going to call this Master Rotator. Like he's a super, robot. And usually where they put their animations is if we go into here, we go into assets, we go into art, is we have our own folder for animations. So we're going to say new folder animations. Sometimes they put it inside the geo folder. If you have characters, it's logical that you put the animation for characters inside the character folder. But for now, we'll just leave it out here in the middle of, its own folder. We'll go inside of there and we'll say save. Now, if we look inside of that folder, what it's done is made two objects, the master rotator and the sphere animation master. The sphere animation master is named after the object, and then master rotator is what I'm telling it it's going to do, what the rotation is. This is what tells the actions that are going to happen, and this is what it connects it to whatever you put it on. So I'm going to come in here and you'll see that I get this timeline and everything like that. And what I want to do is add a property, because right now I don't have any controls over anything, and I want to do a transform, and I'm going to just say rotation and push plus. And now I've got rotation animation master, which is based off of the name of this, and rotation, and the rotation is the only thing that I've added to this. So if I move this around, you'll see it goes from 0 to 1 on a second, so 30 frames I think. And I can grab each keyframe, and it's giving me keyframes for it. And if I down this, you can see it's a keyframe for X, Y, and Z. And I can click on one of them, or I can click on, I think I click on this one, it does all of them, or if I click on this one, it'll do all of them in this case too. But I can click on just one, and this is saying that the rotation is being affected. This is saying that this whole area is being affected, and this is telling you it's just this frame. So if I want to rotate something around an object, and those people who have done animation before, what's the position or the rotation percent or axis of the last frame? What should it be? If this is 0, what should this one be? I'm sorry?
90.
No, because that's a only 90-degree angle. We want to...
for the final frame, the same as the first one.
It should actually be the one right before. It should be 365, right? Not 365.
359.
359, yeah. 359. Technically, in this case, it's such a small animation, it wouldn't be a big deal, but it would hiccup if it was done in the wrong place. It would stop for 1 second and then go, and it'd be very unnoticeable to us. But this will be.
It's weird because generally, whenever I do it, I do like the final keyframe as the same as the first one, and then I move it a frame after the animation stops.
Yeah. So if I press play, yeah, it does. If I press play, this is just an easy way to do it. You'll see it starts animating around it. So what we don't have is a way to, well, we do, but one of the things that is missing from this animation is that it's set up by default. All the animations put in here are set up like a car stopping and starting. And those are called easing in and easing out. So the beginning of this cycle is building up speed, ramping up speed like a car, and then the end of the cycle is slowing down and coming to the stop, and before it starts over again. So it's just going up and down and slow and fast. And what we do with where that comes from is called curves. And what we do with those curves is we try and get them to be not like a hump, like this one's kind of going to be dipping under and then up and then curving flat as it gets to the top. And we actually have an area called curves. If we click on curves, you'll see it looks like I can't even see it. That's okay. You can zoom out. Well, no, I guess I can't zoom out. Well, it's okay. You can push F, and it actually flattens it so you can see it. But here's where it's building up momentum, and then probably at the maximum speed, it starts slowing down almost. So we want to take these keyframes, and this is the same representation we had on before. These are keyframes. You can take these keyframes and tell them to not do what they're doing. By default, they have these little handlebars on them, and we can actually move those handlebars so they face each other a little bit smoother, and then you get, now it's moving like a simple clean line, right? Really, that is the way to do it. That is one way to do it, but the simplest way and the best way to do it that makes sure they're perfect is we right click on a keyframe and we can tell both tangents. Now when I say both tangents, there's an in and an out. In this curve, in this animation, this keyframe only has an out and this keyframe only has an in. So if I do both of them and I select this and say both tangents, meaning both in and out for both keyframes, I'm covering my bases. Otherwise, I need to select them in, and I don't like how they say left and right, it should say in and out, but otherwise I have to come to each one and make sure I'm pointing at the right one and tell it to do what I needed to do. In this case, I'm going to just say linear, and it's not going to be much different, but at least it's calculated this point to this point is exactly this perfect angle. And now it's just smoothing around. If we look at it from the top, it's just a perfect animation, no problem. So that's cool. Now we have this animation set inside of this object, and we can stop this real quick. I'll come back in a second. And if I go into play, oh, one thing we should do is now make a prefab out of this. We probably could have done it before too, but I should have done it before, but we'll just drag it in to make it a prefab. And now my prefab has that animation master still hooked to it, so if I press play, I now have my circling sphere. In fact, let me go back and look at my camera real quick. Let me get it to like here. Game object, align to view. Okay. In fact, if I want, now that it's a prefab, I can just drag and drop it. And control or copy and paste it. And move this one over here and this one over here. Oops, the wrong one. This one over here. I guess I duplicated those two by accident. Okay. So now, and I guess I missed the. Oh, there's only two in here. I grabbed the cube instead. So now I have two of them. So technically, this could go around anything. Right now, I just have it set for the cube. So, you know, it's cool about the prefabs. We can have all the animation loaded and all that stuff too. So the next thing we want to do in this case is make it like a glowing sphere. And we can do that in the prefab. We could actually put it on the sphere. The problem with putting it on the sphere is the only time you can see any changes, and not even live changes, is inside the prefab itself. We don't want to do that. We want to put the animation where all the animation is being loaded into the master frame animation master. So I'm going to come into Windows, I'm going to say animation, I'm going to say open it up. And you'll see that it does still have the sphere animation master in here. And I'm going to show you another way you can add animation to this, so you don't have to go add property, pick the sphere, and figure out what you want to add to it, which is cool, by the way. That's how that works. But instead, I can just go to the sphere, and we need to add a texture to it. So I'm going to add a material, I should say, to it, and we're going to add, since I don't have it and I deleted them, I'll leave this back at prefabs. We'll come to this material, and I'm going to duplicate this one, paste it. That's right. So weird that copy and paste doesn't work in here. You have to control drag. There's other ways to do it too, but control C and V works everywhere else. Red glow, we're going to call this for now. And then I'm going to drag this one, and we'll go inside of the sphere here, so it automatically saves my changes. we're going to take this red glow and throw it onto that object, and then we're going to look at this object and say, red glow, we really want you to glow emissive, and then change the emissive color to red, and say okay, and then we're going to, and see, I don't like how you can't see it inside of here. If I go back out, oh, I thought I could see it out here better. Anyway, I'm going to change this to 1000. And now it's glowing in there. If I go inside, it doesn't show it. That's what I was talking about. So I can say like 10,000. And it's the same thing. And it doesn't show up. If I come back out here, and it's this thing. Okay. So I've got my red sphere. It's glowing. And now if I press play, my red glowing sphere goes around the object. If I had it in the proper light and fog setup, then it would be nice and beautiful like the previous one. But there's more to this one. I want to be able to change this sphere color as it goes around this object, like you're going to do. So again, I have to open up the window, animation. I only keep closing it because I'm not working in it and to get it out of the way. I guess I did. I left it over here this time. Okay. So I haven't animated any part of it yet, so what I need to do is I need to turn on the record button, basically, come over to my sphere, and grab it, and we're going to change it to 1000 for now. There we go, that's what I wanted. And it should still be 1000 at the end of this. We're going to come to the end at this keyframe and change it to 1500, so it's a little bit brighter. We're also going to change the emissive color to a blue, like that. A nice blue. So in theory, as I go around this, it's going to change colors to blue and then immediately pop. There's another way to test your animations, and you just have to press play here, and it'll do it for me. So there you go, it's changing colors. So, and notice it's put the correct stuff inside of here, so I don't have to go find it. For a rotation, it's a lot easier just to type in the numbers, but for this kind of stuff, who wants to do that dance and try and chase down which part of the material you're actually editing and stuff like that? So, the problem with this one right now is I want to make it go a little bit slower around the sphere, and I want to make this go halfway blue and then turn back to red. I don't want it just to pop to red when it gets done with blue. So I'm going to stop this, and then I'm going to pull back out by just scrolling back on the mouse, and I'm going to take the rotation stuff, which is this, and I'm going to scale it all the way out to, apparently not far enough, 2 seconds, and move these keyframes to there. And then test the animation by pushing the spacebar. Now it's nice and slow. It's got that nice thing. It's glowing. Now we just have to fix the glow part. So if I want it to glow and turn off in 1 second, and we go from red to blue to red in 1 second, what I need to do is move these keyframes to 30. Take these keyframes, move my timer to 1. Take these keyframes and say Control C and then Control V, and it pastes it in that point. So now you'll see it goes from blue back to red, and it's going to stay red because I don't know the changes. But what we'll do is we'll grab this. Oops, we'll just grab these. Control C. Actually, no. We'll do just these. Control C. And then we're going to go to, let's say, 130. And Control V. And now it should change twice. And we do have curves for this too. If you come look here, we go F, you'll see all the colors of the curves. So you can look at just this one and get an idea of what we're looking at, or you can look at this one, which, by the way, this has 3 different things. If you want to see 1, this is a 1. So I can take this curve and make it just go simple right now. Right now it's doing the same thing. It's going across, you know, it's curving in and out. It's easing in and out. So we're going to come in here in both tangents and say linear. And now, I missed this. There we go. Now it worked. So now it'll change evenly and completely as it goes through the whole thing. And you'll notice that even though there's keyframes in here, and actually I guess there isn't a third keyframe, but if I wanted to, I could come to that center point, pause, I'll go to 1 minute. Oh, interesting. I missed the first half of it. F usually cinders everything. So strange. Okay, let me take that off and see. There we go. So I want to do that to all of them. So I'll do this. Do that again. Right click and say both tangents. Well, not weighted. Oops. Both tangents linear. And now you'll see it changes in and out. It's like a bouncing ball. So sort of. I could change it too. I can grab any of these keyframes and say I really want you to be here, or I could do. I could say I want it to be a different color at this point, so I could say it'd be easier to stop. If you take a look at these controls, there's forward to the next keyframe, previous keyframe, final keyframe. So we'll go to previous keyframe and just say we'll make it, instead of blue, we'll make it yellow. Like that. And see what it does. Oops. Come back to here, press play. Blue, yellow, and then red in between. And it doesn't look like it changed anything here, but if we look at what it's actually doing, this is the intensity part we were messing with, so this is how it turns up and down. The color stuff is right here, and of course it's got red, blue, green, and alpha. We haven't changed the alpha funny enough, but it still affects it. But, you know, we could come to whatever keyframe and see the color values, and then go to the next keyframe and the color values, and we should have the same color value here as we do at the beginning. So that one and that one are the same. So you could do that by hand, you could type in your color value, or you can just put it in this way. The last thing we're going to do is attach it to our cube. So we want this animation to happen inside of this cube, but we don't necessarily ever want it to be anywhere else. So that way, suppose we have a sword and we're swinging the sword around, these animations would stay with the sword. So we're going to take this sphere prefab and we're going to go ahead and drop it into the master cube. So now we have a prefab in a prefab, and if we look here, we'll still have to do that override and say apply to all, and that way that plus is gone. But now every time we see that prefab, it's going to have that sphere animation in it, which means that if we look at it inside of here, we'll see that there's a prefab inside of the prefab, and then we can go look in that prefab and you'll see we're at the scenes from inside the master cube inside of here. We don't ever really need to go inside of here for this one, but that's kind of what we can do, and that's the same thing you can do with the scripting side of it too. Notice also, I should point out, I forgot, there's a couple things that happen when we put that animation on there. It added an animator script to it, and in that animator script it says the sphere animation master, which is what I was telling you about in here, and we can see this is the sphere animation master, which points to this master rotator animation. Okay, so now if we play it, or let's try something new, let's see if we come back to this prefab and we take this master cube variant and we throw it right here. Look, there's another sphere on it, and if we press play, we have both of them doing what they're supposed to do.